My phone buzzes on the sofa beside me. There's a new message from my brother. He's asking a very important question, a question you're probably all too familiar with as well. What do you want for your birthday? How do you answer such a question? In that moment, I think we've all got three options. Firstly, we can downplay it and tell the very generous person asking us that we don't need anything. Secondly, we could throw out a few vague ideas of things we've seen that might be quite nice, but we're not too worried about whether we'll get them. Or third and finally, we can take a childlike approach and ask boldly for something we really want. So far in our lament journey, we have explored the first two steps in our formula for lament. Together we've learned that lament involves turning to God in prayer, and secondly, it involves us accepting our God-given permission to protest and complain to God as we voice our questions and frustrations to Him. Now in this fourth Daring to Hope session, we come to the next step in our journey, a step that involves us moving from our posture of protest and complaint to a confident calling upon God to act in keeping with His character and covenant. The time has come for us to do what so many of the Lament Psalms authors do, and boldly cry out, "Help!" Throughout the Lament Psalms, the writers frequently call upon God with an authority that seems as if they are commanding God to act. As we've seen in previous sessions, their confidence in God's faithful love, steadfast power, as well as their knowledge of His saving actions in the past, allow and compel them to make such bold requests. But what do they ask for? And can we ask for the same things? To aid us in answering these questions, Mark Vroegop helpfully highlights 9 types of bold requests and pain-filled petitions found within the Psalms of Lament, which serve as unique models for how and what we can pray as we reach out to God in the dark clouds of our lives. You can see each of those in your participants' workbook, and we would encourage you to take some time later in this session and even afterwards to explore each of them further. But for a moment, let's briefly consider 5 of them. Firstly, 7 lament psalms. Psalms 3, 7, 9, 10, 17, 74 and 94 call upon God to arise, O Lord. The authors of each of these lament psalms plead with God to arise, intervene, act and fix what is broken within the world by bringing about remarkable change, transformation and hope despite the desperation of many of their situations. Secondly, many other psalms like Psalm 60 are filled with cries for God to grant us help. Directing their laments and prayers towards an all-powerful, ever-present, ever-faithful God, these authors boldly ask that God might deliver or rescue them from their circumstances, and if not, at least give them the strength to endure. Thirdly, psalms such as Psalm 25 call upon God to remember your covenant or remember your mercy. Connected deeply to God's character and saving actions throughout the ages, such requests fight the temptation to believe only what we can see with our own eyes. These prayers trust the words and promises that God has already spoken and call on Him to be true to them. Fourthly, further psalms such as 28 and 86 boldly request that God wouldn't be silent but listen to me. The theme of God's silence is apparent in many of the lament psalms as the authors plead with God to answer their requests. Maybe as we've explored in a previous session, we understand what this deafening silence is like when we reach out to God and hear nothing back. In such circumstances, it's important to remember that we must keep pouring out our hearts to God, for He still hears us and cares for us. Finally, several lament psalms, such as Psalm 80, feature a request for God to restore us. Very often, these laments are primarily focused on the present circumstances and realities of our dark clouds. However, whilst this is their focus, the spirit in which they are offered is one of boldly longing for and expectantly anticipating the future reality of the day when all things will be made new, as God ushers in His age of ultimate restoration in the new heavens and the new earth. Did you know that there is such a variety of bold requests in the lament psalms? I hope discovering this encourages you, and I hope that many of these prayers will become your companions during your day of trouble. Because as we continue to be reminded, in every season and every pain, God wants us to turn to Him and boldly cry out for His help.